My name's Tom DiNardo. I am the Wine Zealot, and on today's show we're going to be exploring a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I'm an amateur mycologist, and mycology is the study of mushrooms or fungus. These right here, this is Boletus, and these basically are oyster mushrooms which grow off hemlock logs, etc., and are incredibly tasty. You can buy these in most high-end grocery stores. I believe are going to be angel wings that we have right here. These are going to be your oysters right here. And this particular mushroom, this is the Russula xeropolina or shrimp mushroom, and the giveaway on it is on the stipe. It's always going to have a rosacea or rose color, and unlike most of these russulas, if you were to bite into the russula, it would be very acrid and peppery. But this is one of the nicer russulas, and as far as edibles go, because it's actually very nutty. It's not quite as almond-like as the Agaricus Augusta or Prince Agaricus, but again, one of the better edibles that we have locally here in Washington State. Over here, we have the Lepiotas, and sort of back again to a point about safety. With the Lepiotas or shaggy parasols, which we'll show you here in a moment, 20% of the population, these used to be Lepiota rhacoides, and now they're in the chlorophyllum species. And 20% of the population that eats the shaggy parasol or chlorophyllum verdeum or chlorophyllum rhacoides has adverse reactions and gastric upset. So this is one of these mushrooms that, again, you don't want to eat it unless you have an expert positively identify it. And again, if you try mushrooms, you want to make sure, as we've been stating all along, you take a small bite, wait anywhere from a half hour to several hours to see if you have a reaction. If you don't, then you're clear. But again, don't eat any mushrooms unless you have 100% identified. Earlier, when we were talking to Jim, we were talking about medicinal mushrooms, and this particular mushroom is a Hericium. This is one that grows prolifically here in the state of Washington. It's also called bear's head, and it tends to grow on old wood or dead wood logs. And this one is very delicious. Not only does it have medicinal properties such as producing collagen and helping with brain illness, but this one also has the consistency of pasta, which, being an Italian, I'm very fond of this. Again, it's Hericium, also known as bear's head. We have the orange peel cup fungus, which, if we're lucky, we'll be able to get some of the spore to come up out of it.
I wonder if we can get those to release spores. I've done it in the wild before, and you count to 3 and then you click the camera.
Yeah.
So it does it on the exact
on the board.
time.
Oh, you did! You got it! You got that on film, didn't you?
Did you get it?
She got it, yeah. So what we have here is also some of my favorites, and there's one in particular that I find very interesting, and I'll have you do a close-up on this. This is what's called the lobster mushroom, which actually smells and tastes like lobster. Now, there's a story behind it. The lobster mushrooms is actually Russula brevipies, and what happens is the Russula brevipies mushroom gets another fungus on it called Hypomyces lactiflorum, which actually changes the physical structure of the mushroom and gives it this look, so you can't miss it. When it's coming out of the ground and it erupts out of the ground, it has this bright orange look to it. And again, it smells like lobster. Some say it tastes like lobster, but it's great in cooking, and we've used it. I personally use it in cooking all the time. And right over here is the western chicken of the woods, or sulfur shells. And the outer edges are edible. Now, I have a story about this because I went looking for this mushroom, and when we looked for it, we found it 100 yards off the road, but it took me over an hour to get about 100 feet, and I had to give up. And it was one of those kind of mushrooms that sometimes, try as you might, you just may not be able to get to it, because sometimes it's 30 to 40 feet up high in the tree as well. Okay, so we have one of my favorite mushrooms here, which is called Clavaria Delphis truncatus, or the club mushroom, which this particular mushroom tastes like smoky maple syrup and is fantastic with eggs, bacon, sausage. It's wonderful in omelets. And you only find this up in the higher elevations at the higher alpine altitudes. But truly, one of the nicer, most unique mushrooms and pleasurable mushrooms you'll ever take, because it's so sweet. So what we're about to look at here is the Boletus Edulis, or King Bolete. The Italians call them porcinis, the Germans call them Steinpils. These are prolific here in Washington State at higher elevation, but if you're in the southern part of the state, you'll find these growing along the coast, along the madrone forests. And now there are certain places here in Bellingham along the coast where you can get these as well, but they're a lot more rare. And the difference also with the porcini or king bolete is that that's going to grow out of the ground, whereas this next mushroom that we're looking at, the Boletus mirabilis, or admirable bolete, is a wood dweller. So the difference again between the two, the king bolete is what grows in a mycorrhizal habitat, whereas the Boletus mirabilis grows in a saprophytic environment, which means it has a parasitic or symbiotic relationship with its host. So right here we're in front of the Caprinus table, and I've tried a number of these species. They're really delicious, but there's one in particular called the Inky cap, which is in the Caprinus family. And if you like to drink, or you drink beer or wine, you don't want to eat that mushroom within 24 hours of having consumed alcohol, because there's an agent in it that acts like antabuse, and if you eat it after you've drunk, you will become very sick and vomit. But that's why you don't want to drink or have alcohol with this particular species. But the other species of Caprinus you can eat with impunity and you won't suffer any ill effects. Now in the Agaricus family, there's one in particular that I love, and it's probably one of my favorites, right up there with Boletes. It's called Agaricus Augustus, or the Prince Agaricus. Now, the trademark of this particular mushroom is it grows under pine trees, and it smells like almond extract, and the taste of it is almost like unsweetened marzipan. It's really delicious. Now, you want to harvest this particular mushroom when it's a cap, because the gills are going to be white, and after the cap opens, the film on the bottom of the web is going to separate and create a veil or a ring, and then the gills are going to start to turn pink, and then when it fully opens, it's going to turn dark brown. And that's this one right here.